like we said, here are your eyeballs, here's your brain, or what we call your cortex. Here's your brain stem, and there's 3 levels to it, but that's not important right now. Your cerebellum, which is your coordination area, your muscle coordination, athletic type area. And here's your vestibular system. That's your inner ear balance coordination system, gives you equilibrium, those types of things. Here's your spine, also involved. So we're like, okay, here's all these systems that do different things, right? With that patient we were just talking about, the frontal lobe really involved, that's up here in the brain. But what's really interesting and what's really important, how we can help these people, is that all these systems are integrated. They're communicating all the time, or should be.
Yeah.
And when they don't, that's when we get symptoms, okay? So if you look at how these things work, the vestibular system and the cerebellum are really super connected. And they're super connected with the spine. And then this is super connected, both of these are super connected with the brainstem here, which then pops up, boom, into here, and also has projections to the other side, here, which are then connected to the eyes. On all of this stuff is then connected, and this pathway that goes across to the other side is connected to the upper brain.
Okay.
And this being the right side. So this is like you're looking at me straight on. So this is my right, this is my left. This is the right side of your brain, the left side of your brain, right? So it's looking at it that way. So you asked a great question, and your question was, which pathway are we working on, and are there multiple pathways? Well, what's interesting is that when we can find the major pathways involved, we can actually improve the eyes. And that's what you were saying. You saw that eye jumping. You're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a problem like with his visual acuity. It's a problem with his connections in somewhere in this system to his visual movements. Because all your vestibular, cerebellar, and brainstem activity is connected to your eye movements. So you're like, well, why is that? In your spine. So your spine, equilibrium, balance areas, and your eyes are all connected. Because if I asked you to look quickly at something, or something dangerous was coming in, you wouldn't just move your eyes.
Yeah.
You would move your body and your head and your eyes together. So your spine and your inner ear and your brainstem and your visual system have to all be linked together. That's why they are, okay? Because you move your head through rotational planes, you have to keep your equilibrium at the same time. You have to know where you are in relation to gravity, in relation to your surroundings. And that's like it's kind of funny because that's actually the brain's number one job, is to know where it is in space.
Yeah.
And it might seem like, oh, really? Like, I want to feel good.
Yeah.
You know, I want to like be energetic, or I want to like feel happy and those types of things. Well, you know what? The brain doesn't actually care doesn't care that much about that. It cares that you can survive.
Got it.
It might make sense why we worry about things sometimes, right? Because it's the brain, if it's feeling like unsafe.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so you know how people say, oh, the brain will do anything to protect itself? Would the brain also shut off certain pathways in order to protect itself?
Yeah, you could say that. It could dampen them.
Yeah.
Doesn't
so is that what's happening to him? I don't know.
No, he was struck by lightning.
Yeah.
So those pathways were just
actually
injured. Yeah, his brain's not like... Now, what you will see is that the brain will overcompensate in other areas. So for him, because he was struck by lightning, he had a lot of damage in these autonomic pathways that live down here. These are the ones that we were talking about that control blood flow back up to the brain, where he's not getting good blood flow to the brain, and his heart rate went up from like 90 to 160 we were talking about, right? Now it's down to like 65, only goes up to 80, so that was like really cool, right? So now he's getting more blood flow to the brain. But his systems, when they got injured, these pathways got fried, almost quite literally. And then this, so what I didn't draw to you is this jumps down to here too. So this all jumps down to that one. So this got really affected. this blood flow pathway, right? Or this pathway of brain control over blood flow back up to the brain. So when, for him, because he has these areas of damage, now his other parts of his brain that didn't get as damaged have to work harder. They have to pick up the load for the weaker parts of the brain, because he still has to get things done. So this is sometimes where you see even the area where he has a lot of light sensitivity. That could be also an overcompensating area, right? Because if he doesn't feel balanced, if he doesn't know where his head is in space, guess what system has to work harder? His visual system, exactly, his eyes. So he's trying to take in so much information.
Okay, because you take in your eyes through here and here, but these are damaged. Well, not like you take in information.
Information, right, right. Yeah, your different senses.
Yes.
So that's even another question, but I like that, is you take in senses from your body.
Yeah.
Your spine is a major part of that, right? And it's because it's detecting gravitational pull, it's detecting angulation, joint angulation. It tells the brain, like, are we moving?
No.
Right? Because if I start to sway this way, then what's going to happen is these muscles on the other side are going to start to stretch.
Oh, okay.
And remember those little receptors I was talking about, like the little light switches? These little receptors live in these muscles, and they say, oh, we're stretching, we must be bending to that side. So it sends information up to the brain. The brain then takes that information and puts it together with other things, like you just said. Does the inner ear detect that we're moving to that side? Because it has fluid in here, in little hair cells. So this fluid in these hair cells, they detect the movement in relation to gravity. Because it's saying gravity is constant, right? It's 9.8 meters per second squared. If it senses a change in position relative to gravity, then it says, oh, we're moving to the left. That's if the vestibular system is healthy. A lot of our patients don't have healthy vestibular systems. So they screw up all of this stuff we're talking about, but they also have easier injury to the back. So remember the question you asked about, like, is this lower back affected because his brain is affected, or is it something different? Well, it could be both or either. If his vestibular system and his spatial orientation systems are not good. So he's not going to have good control over his body, over his muscle and joint position. So he's going to be more prone to injury. Those muscles are going to be tighter. He's going to have more pain. So this is where we use chiropractic neurology to help a lot of people with back and neck and body pain and issues, because they may be getting treatment with chiropractic, PT, different things that may not have worked. And they're like, what's going on? Because the problem isn't actually in the body, it's in the brain. And it can be fixed. And it can be recalibrated quite easily, but you have to know how to work with the vestibular system. You have to have that background, you know?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's
so
actually coming together.
Yeah. So you start to see that why we help so many people is that we look at this system as it is, which is an integrated, multifactorial or multi-pronged system. And so if you look at things like if I'm a muscle practitioner and we're looking at everything from a muscle, and this is a tight muscle, and I'm, maybe there's a weakness, and I'm constantly just focusing here, and the patient's not getting better. It's not because they aren't good at what they do. It's because there's a problem somewhere else. Or if I'm doing adjustments here all the time and it's not getting better, it's not because they're not good at what they do. It's because there's more to the problem up through here. Absolutely. But some people don't need all that. Some people truly do have a problem here. It always affects the brain whenever you have a problem in the body, because of the mapping we talked about and the connections we talked about in the brain, right? But the problem is actually here impacting the brain.
Got it.
So it's not the brain impacting the body.
Okay.
What's that?
So sometimes it can be the reverse way.
Yeah, sometimes it can be the reverse way.
Okay.
Now, it still isn't isolated in the sense of, like, everything, anytime you have a problem somewhere, it affects all of these things, but not to the effect that, like, you couldn't fix it here. It's like milder impacts to the brain. It's going to compensate. The brain's going to say, okay, I see the message error. I'm going to tilt this way or do this. And this is where people start to see, like, problems getting worse over time. It's because that's what kind of, back to your question of, like, the brain's not shutting off pathways per se, but it's compensating. And you're like, but the brain made more problems for me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, is my brain working against me? It's like, no, it's not. It's saying we have a thing here, we're trying to offload it to let it heal, or trying to, you know, do whatever to decrease your pain and discomfort. So it's like kind of, it's saying, well, other areas can take up a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit. Let's spread out the problem amongst the team, right? Instead of one person doing all the work, like let's let the team work together really well, right? Which is what I like in general, right? But and that's what happens in the body and the brain. But if we go in there and fix the joint restriction and the muscle issue, then we fix all of the problems in that particular example. But if the problem is up here and that's causing this, we can't fix it through here.
Yeah, because it's not going to do.
Because it's not going to do anything. You're actually just kind of taking away their compensation, which can actually sometimes make them worse.
Okay, and that's why he's with Michaela doing the tilt of his head.
That's why he's doing all of that. He's doing that. Patient's doing all kinds of vestibular rehabilitation and autonomic rehabilitation for the blood flow. Because these systems, we'll draw it over here, these systems are highly connected. The vestibular system in your blood flow to the brain system, the autonomic nervous system, also to the rest of the body, but we're talking about the brain in this case. They're super connected through a highway through here called the vestibular sympathetic reflex. That is really important one. So we can fix a lot of autonomic issues by fixing the vestibular system, because again, we go back to the same idea. If the autonomic nervous system's problem is up through here, just working the autonomic nervous system isn't going to fix the problem, because the problem is here.
Got it.
Or if the problem's in the cerebellum, or if the problem's in the frontal lobe, you know, that we have to fix that to fix this. Or sometimes the problem can even be in the spine that comes up and hits it through this pathway.
But it's not even working, so it's just...
It's not working, so like we have to fix this problem to fix this problem. So it really comes, that's where the diagnostician comes in, right? That's where the importance of identifying where the problem or problem pathways are involved, so we can direct our treatments to the right area, which then repairs these pathways. As the vestibular system gets more accurate, what then happens is you start to take away these restrictions, and you start to strengthen this pathway. You get, remember we said the more connections in the brain generally, the better and healthier the brain is. So then we start to get faster connections to this. This is able to connect down to your blood vessels better, so now we don't have to kick in the heart as much to pump blood back up to the brain, and we get more blood up to the brain.
Got it. So if we're
faster,
connect that to what we do out there. So when they're doing the tilt, it's vestibular.
Yes, exactly. When they're doing the tilt, it's a combination of vestibular and autonomic, and this is is a little different trigeminal system. It's another pathway that's really connected with that. So we're recalibrating this while we're recalibrating this. So we're like bringing them together.
So that's like your coordination.
It's your coordination, it's your head position sense. It's like, where is my head in space? Have you ever had like brain fog, or you've ever been hit in the head, or you know, you're like spacey, you don't feel good, right? And like nothing can work, right? You're like, I can't even think. You know, you might have a migraine, headaches, all these things are associated with this stuff. Dizziness, lightheadedness, you know. Some people get like heart palpitations, their heart rate elevates. That has to do with this system. And so when we correct it, that stuff goes away. But when it's there, I mean, you can't do anything. The whole brain gets affected because of this system with the autonomics. Most people's issues are vestibular. If the vestibular, it's really not the inner ear only, it's its network, which we didn't draw out here, but it has a lot of connections in here in different areas, and it has multiple canals, it has multiple like systems within the vestibular system. So it's not like, hey, the right vestibular is affected, we just do this exercise. It's very specific, so that's why we have to do all the diagnostics like the VNG and the CAPS and the bedside testing and all these different things that we do, why it takes them 2-3 hours to get evaluated, right? Because we have to really specifically nail down which part of it, because the whole thing isn't affected for him, it's a certain part of it. And so then we can rewire that specific part and do really, really well. An analogy would be like in the body, if you had a weak bicep, even though it's on the right side, doing right leg strengthening isn't necessarily going to fix that. Even though it's on the same side, we have to be specific, or even right tricep, or right, a forearm or whatever it might be. We have to be specific to the area and do the right movement that muscle performs. That's how we fix the brain. But we treat not just that, we treat the pathways of it and all the things connected. So with him, you saw we're doing adjustments because if we improve this too, that's going to help the pathway. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we want all the things involved in the pathway, and as that starts to get better, guess what gets better? Then you start seeing his vision stop jumping as much. It's now smoother, and now he's not getting headaches and neck pain, because when his eyes jump like that, that's causing his neck to tighten up and everything to be, like you said, like tensioned. And then he's getting the eye jumping is creating pain in his eyes and headache. It's creating headache, pain back here, and conglomerate, it's just kind of all coming together in creating this stack upon stack upon stack, which creates these headaches and migraines for people.
And so what we're trying to do is, we've already pinpointed the area.
That's right.
Yep. Okay.
That's right. Okay. We've pinpointed that. So now we're just doing the therapies. And what that's doing over time, if we draw it separately.
So every time he comes in, there's a specific thing that he's going to be doing because we've
multiple things though.
Okay.
So that's the difference, right? Yeah. So instead of just doing one thing, we are doing that specific for this, but we're doing something specific for this, doing something specific for this, and we're doing something specific for this. Okay. So what we're doing is we're working all of the areas that are problematic, and they're kind of all meeting a lot in this pathway, which is all creating a greater response.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when somebody comes in and they're doing the head tilt, they're doing percussor, they're doing stem, they're doing that, then all of that is targeting all of yours. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay,
and that's creating
sense.
And that's creating the shift we needed. Because what I didn't draw for you that I'll draw just quickly here is that if we just kind of like make this a concept, all of this stuff with the pathway is a concept, like normally we want a lot of connections in the pathway between different parts of the brain or the brain and the body. When he had the injury, he disrupted this. Right? Remember we talked about the tree branches? If you cut a branch of the tree, it can grow back, but it might not. It might grow back a different way. And so his grew back, and then this is where we get into the compensation. The compensation created. It's not as good. It actually creates a lot of symptoms and errors. This is for instance, the eyes working overtime in creating the light sensitivity.
All right, and this is the traffic analogy.
The traffic analogy, exactly.
Okay.
So now traffic is going a different way. It still gets you to your destination, but not very well, and you're probably late for whatever you're going to do if there's a traffic backup. So, and so for him, he can still get around and move, but it's really uncomfortable for him because he's so light sensitive. Now he's doing a lot better now, but he still has some of that light sensitivity that's still like going away, right? So with him, we're doing less eye stimulation right now because we don't want to stimulate that process. So actually in this, what I would technically, we're not doing eye movements with him yet. But what we're going to do is we're going to come in and stimulate this area, which is going to strengthen this over time. Every time he comes in and does all those different things, it creates more stimulation to this, which are these pathways. That wears this one down. Now the brain says, I don't need to do this as much. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. You ever heard that expression? So that's what that means. It's like if you strengthen the area of your brain that you spend time with, if you will. Like the thought that you're thinking over and over again is going to strengthen. If you think you're good, that's going to strengthen. If you think you're bad, that's going to strengthen. So neuroplasticity is not necessarily good or bad. It's just change, right? It's gonna do whatever you direct it towards. So we direct it towards the good stuff to rewire it. So when we rewire this, then all of this stuff goes away because now the healthy areas through here are doing well, or the healthier. So now the eyes don't have to overwork. And then his spine doesn't have to overwork. So that just gets better. Okay. But we're going to help it along with some of these areas, like we do some of the spinal work and oxygen, rib work to help this pathway. Because the really final thing I just want to share with you is that to get this to occur, this whole process is called neuroplasticity. We talked about that, right? The plastic, it's moldable, but it's really more like clay, like I said. But if we to create these connections, you can't just like do one little thing. You actually have to do multiple things. That's how neuroplasticity is created, or one big thing. But how we do it is we do multiple treatments, right? We give it the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, right? You do the chiropractic, we do the PT, we do the neuro, and neuro has 3 different things that we're, like multiple treatments that we're doing, not just 3, but 3, like multiple. So we're doing all kinds of neuro, all kinds of PT, but all these things are all engineered and oriented specifically towards this. So it's enough energy to override the compensations. Remember, these things are competing.
Yeah.
The old habit, right? The brain wants to go back. It's like a habit, right? It wants to go back to the way we do things. But even though we know it's not good, we have to keep working. And eventually what happens is you override it.
Yeah.
And you start to do more, but you have to be consistent. You have to work hard at that.
So
and then it eventually goes
like
away.
assisting all those systems to go ahead and operate like they should be operating.
Exactly.
Right. So we're like little helpers,
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly what you're doing. You're little helpers that are helping. They're like little helpers going in there and plugging all the holes and connecting these things. Little carpenters, construction people, electricians, and you're going in there like, and you're rebuilding the system.
Okay.
But because the brain naturally wants to do this, but again, it needs direction.
Yeah.
It needs to be directed.
Huh. That actually makes a lot more sense.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad it does.
Because I was watching a bunch of stuff yesterday and I was like, why is that person getting that? That actually makes sense.
Now it's going to mean so much more to you when you see it.
Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, okay. This is what they're coming in for.
Yeah.
This is the place that's targeted.
Yeah.
This is why this is their treatment plan.
Exactly. And it's different for everybody.
Yes.
Everybody that comes in has a different one, because even though there's similar pathways, they have different parts that are affected. We're being a little more general with this, but they're all different. And of course, the beauty of that is all of this stuff changes the brain, the bigger brain. So then you end up feeling even better. This is where people have like mood and motivation, fatigue, and they're like can't get out of their own way, type stuff. I had a couple concussions, what I didn't know were concussions, but a couple head injuries when I was in Brazil with jiu-jitsu. It took a couple knees to the head, and accidental, that's not what jiu-jitsu is about. But I was like, I came back and I was like, man, am I just like overtired? I'm just like, I was just not motivated. My brain wasn't working right. And I was just like, man, maybe it's my allergies, I mean, I had a headache and a migraine from one of them, so I knew there was impact, but I thought it was only spinal. But it was a little more than that, because my migraines got better when I started to get treated when I got back, but there was more to it. What happened is this one little part of my vestibular system on the right side called the right posterior canal system. And what happened was, that system affected all of this stuff so much that as a higher functioning person, I was like, I can't, what's going on? I'm kind of dragging through the day. We did a few different therapies on that yesterday, and that was enough to start triggering the system to heal. I already feel like dramatically better. Yeah. But it's new, so I can affect it quickly. Yeah. Versus if it was 5 years old, then it might take me a couple months of rehab. Yeah. But that's understandable. Yeah. Because it's older, so it has more of these other compensations, and these are weaker. But if it's newer, this is why we like to get people in quickly if we can, right? Because we can correct these things faster. We don't necessarily want them to be here any longer than they have to be. Yeah.
That does make sense.
So really cool. One little thing changes the whole thing. Yeah. But think about it like a table or something, right? Or a stool, let's say. If you take one of the legs and just make it a little bit shorter, the whole thing is wobbly, right? So in the brain, even though it's an amazing machine, it's super complex, like the most turbo of turbo engines you've ever seen, can imagine. So if a little bit is out of sync or whack, it really affects the whole thing, because it's a finely tuned system. Same thing in the spine, it can affect the brain. Same thing in the brain affecting this, all these things. So they have to be really super connected and super accurate.
Mhm.
Now the brain isn't fragile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like, oh my gosh, like every little thing, I don't want to disrupt my brain, and we walk around trying to
Yeah.
don't do that, because the brain needs movement to be
Yeah.
healthy. It needs activation, it needs to be stimulated. So don't be afraid to do stuff. It's just that if something happens and you're not feeling right,
Yeah.
then there's something in error.
Going on. Yeah.
So especially if you have like a couple symptoms linked together, you know, and they stay there for a little while, right? That's when you know there's some kind of pathway issue in the brain going on, or some kind of like problem in the body going on.
Yeah.
They need to
That's
get
not
corrected. Yeah.
Wow.